Part 72. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 717. Yanj said proudly, Zhang's mother is often absent and will buy me a lot of noodles. I cook them every day, and I will. Clear soup noodles, with no garnish except eggs. The two of them sat at the table with a bowl of noodles, and Yanj couldn't wait to show off his cooking. Is it delicious, brother? You taste it, my noodles must be delicious. Zhang Jian bowed his head and ate a bite of noodles. After Yanj asked him again whether he was delicious, he looked up and smiled at her. It's delicious. The smile was very sincere and brilliant. The noodles were rotten, and she didn't put any seasoning at all, only the noodle soup that looked like flour in the noodles. He thought that this should be the most unpleasant noodle he has ever eaten. However, I felt that this was the best meal he had ever had. Yanj won his praise and ate the noodles in his bowl with interest. Zhang Jian looked up at her several times and saw that she was eating so sweet. With a little association, you can know how Zhang Ma perfunctured her when he was away. His eyes were a bit uncomfortable, and a bowl of noodles was eaten by him. Yanj closed the bowl and washed it. She walked slowly, thinking she was not feeling well. Zhang Jian took the bowl in her hand and strode to the kitchen. After dinner, Yanj asked Zhang Jian, "Brother, would you like to go for a walk?" Zhang Jian held her arm and walked upstairs. "Don't go, you are not feeling well and you need to rest in bed." Yan Ji nodded, and immediately she turned her head and said, "Brother, will you teach me how to read?" Zhang Jian nodded at the look on her face. This time still lying on Zhang Jian's big bed. Yan Ji's bed was small, and Zhang Jian could not rest. I looked at her a few times and felt that she was very sleepy, but still stared intently at the words in the book. He reached out and touched her head. "Sleep." Yanj rubbed his eyes and nodded. "Brother is not in good health, so go to bed early." She moved down, leaning against his shoulder, and murmured, "Brother, good night." He was lying with her for a long time, and did not respond to her words, staring at the ceiling in the darkness. The girl next to her, after a long time, gently asked him, "Brother, are you asleep?" "No." "Oh." He waited for her to continue talking, but she didn't say any more. He had to soften his voice and asked her, "Is something wrong?" Yanj asked in a dull voice, "Brother, did I really buy it?" He went to grab her hand, only to find that her hand was clenched tightly to the quilt. He opened her fingers a little bit, and then held her hand in his own hand. "Well. Although the sound is very light, it is firm." He could see her eyelashes fluttering through the light coming in through the window. He squeezed her hands tightly and continued, "Anan, do you want to leave here?" She asked, "Brother, didn't you lie to me?" The voice was panicked, a little helpless, and saddened with restraint. "I didn't lie to you," he continued. "At that time, I had a good match for your bone marrow, and my parents bought you back. You would be small, originally too small, and not suitable for taking your blood stem cells, but because you are not biological, my parents didn't care if you had sequelae. After my death, the villain blackened again." Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 718. You are 16 years old and you should be as tall and as strong as Tian Tian, but you are half a head shorter than her and thinner than her, not because you are developing late, but because your body is too badly damaged. Anan, you are not their own, they care about you because your bone marrow can match me. Yan Ji's hand grasped Zhang Jian's finger tightly, making him feel like he was pinched by her finger. She didn't say anything, but he was uncomfortable. He asked softly, "Anan, do you want to leave here?" "What about you?" Yanj asked him. "Brother, what about you? Do you treat me as a sister?" When she asked the last sentence, her voice was almost crying. He said in silence, "No." Once the words are spoken, it is extremely easy. Never before, I have never regarded you as my sister. Brother, Yan Ji whispered in surprise, looked up, and looked at him tearfully. Brother, you are so good to me, you. He interrupted her, because I feel guilty for you. I want to be kind to you occasionally, but I have never treated you as my sister, and I have never been really good to you. He paused and said again, sweetly bully you because you are not biological. Your parents do teach you how to learn Chinese characters and do let you go to school. They are afraid that you will leave this villa and you won't come back. I want to prison you. She didn't cry, but her shoulders moved, and tears kept falling from the corners of her eyes. These words must make her sad. But he said more and more freely, they are holding you like this and treating you personally. They are saying that the family should love each other and be selfless and dedicated, but they are actually brainwashing you so that you can always listen to them. And dedicated myself to me. He asked her again, would you like to leave here? She didn't speak, her lips were pursed tightly, her eyebrows were also frowned, her eyes kept tearing. It really took time for her to digest the news, and he didn't press harder. My voice was softened and I said, I can live to this day. Thanks to you, although I have never regarded you as my sister, but I have treated you as a benefactor. If you want to leave here, or if you need any help, you can tell me. As long as I can do it, I will definitely help you. He wanted to wipe her tears, but his outstretched hand retracted. Close your eyes and force yourself to sleep. But she spoke again at this time, if I leave here, what about my brother? What will my brother do? Without me, what will my brother do when he needs hematopoietic stem cells? He listened to her words, and his heart suddenly became extremely irritable. It was all this time, and she was still worried about what he was doing. Why didn't she hate him? Without you, there will still be donations from others. I am not alive without you, but it is a matter of spending more money. Do you think the Zhang family is a poor family? Then I leave now, she asked him weakly. If I leave, my brother thinks, where should I go? His lips clenched tightly. Every time she left the villa, she went to the hospital, except that she had never been to the outside world. She left the villa, unable to distinguish between the northeast, southeast, and northwest. She didn't even know the men's and women's toilets. Heal first, he said. I'll teach you how to learn calligraphy during this time. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 719. I was afraid that the words would not matter, Zhang Jian said, you must read the words well. Everyone knows the words outside. If you don't know the words, you will be laughed at. Yan Ji nodded, I will work hard to recognize the brother. She also called him brother softly. The voice was so good that he even wanted to listen to him for a lifetime, and wanted to hold her so that she would always call him like this. This secretly ridiculous thought made him feel more guilty about her. He really never treated her as a sister. His parents treated her well, and he was no exception. Father Zhang came to the villa early the next morning. He and Zhang mother stayed overnight at the hospital, which made him look particularly embarrassed. I wanted to come back for a breakfast, only to find out that Zhang's mother had been fired, and there was no new servant here. He went upstairs and knocked on Zhang Jian's door first. He said to Zhang Jian, who opened the door, Jian, I forgot to order you dinner last night. What did you eat last night? Are you hungry or not? I will give it away. Where do you go? There are many people there, and it is easy to take care of you. I won't go, Zhang Jian said, living here is pretty good. When Father Zhang saw him cold, he wanted to come and be ignored for a night, and he was so sad that he didn't persuade him anymore. He thought of calling and sending a servant over here. After Father Zhang had spoken, he knocked on the door of Yanj again. Zhang Jian stood at the door and watched his father impatiently push the door after knocking a few times, but he didn't see anyone who said Yanj in it. Anan, did she go for a walk in the garden? Father Zhang said angrily, Sweet is like that. She still has a mood to walk, she is really a white-eyed wolf. Zhang Jian ignored him. Father Zhang was just shouting at Zhang Ma to find the song, but later realized that Zhang Ma had been fired. With a dark face, he had to go downstairs to find it himself. Waiting for Jiang's father to go downstairs, Yanj got out of Zhang Jian's house, and said weakly, Dad seems to be angry, what should I do? Zhang Jian, you go to your room and lie down. When he comes back, you say you just came back for a walk. That's a good idea. Yan Ji decisively went to his room. Looking at her slightly flustered expression, she was obviously not angry with the white-eyed wolf that Father Zhang had just said. But her eyes were swollen, clearly caused by crying so badly yesterday. She is not unhappy, presumably, she does not want to be seen. There was only a seam left in her swollen eyes. Even if she didn't say it, others would be able to see it at a glance, so Zhang Jian took 2 steps and pulled her arm. A moment later they want to ask what's going on with your eyes, and you say it's sad and broken legs and wept. Yanj nodded and said, well, okay. Actually, she planned to say so. Zhang Jian then let go of her hand and re-entered her room without closing the door. Father Zhang not only searched the flower shed at the back of the villa, but also the entire villa outside, but still could not find anyone, and the hungry and exhausted heart of his heart was so angry that he couldn't wait to get it right away. Yanj caught a few hard falls like a ball. He didn't find the song in a circle. He suspected he had missed it, so he made another circle. Still unable to come across, he was so angry that he finally understood the inconvenience of not having a cell phone. He returned angrily to the room, going upstairs to Zhang Jian to ask again. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 720. Zhang Jian ignored his sweaty father, and said in surprise, Anan came back not long after you left, why didn't you meet her? I thought you had talked to her. Father Zhang was so annoyed that he couldn't even say a word, and then he turned around to push the door of the song. He opened the door and saw the song on the bed. After glancing at it, he tried to calm his voice, but there was still a smell of gunpowder in his tone. Tian Tian wants to see you in the hospital. You and I will go there. It's really unnecessary to say a word. He didn't even go through the field to ask the words that the song was uncomfortable and uncomfortable. After Father Zhang had finished speaking, he knew that Yanj would follow him. He went out and walked to Zhang Jian's door, and said to Zhang Jian, Sweet is still small and ignorant, do nt take those words to heart, you are her brother, be more concerned about her, this mobile phone, you remember to post videos with her to unlock her. When Father Zhang and Zhang Jian were talking, their voices were milder than just now. Although he knew that his father was very good to him, Zhang Jian was still uncomfortable because of his words. He took the cell phone and said with no reason. Father Zhang patted him on the shoulder, parents and mothers have been taking care of them for the past 2 days. I can't care about you. You must call me if you have anything. Zhang Jian nodded, but glanced at the song that followed Zhang's father, Anan's health isn't good yet. Shouldn't she rest in bed and rest? Why bother her to the hospital? Don't toss anything wrong. Father Zhang was concerned about the words, but also because of Zhang Jian's illness. Regarding Zhang Jian's words, he naturally took it to heart, Anan is not a big deal, do nt worry, the Sweet situation is more serious, your brothers and sisters are affectionate, let Anan go and see how sweet it is, Sweet can get better soon. Zhang Jianyi laughed extremely ironically. If the brothers and sisters are affectionate, it is estimated that even Father Zhang would not believe it. As long as Zhang Tiantian and Zhang An are together, there is no time for love and affection. Let Zhang An go to the hospital. Zhang Jian also knew with his toes, that Zhang An had to go to the hospital to be Zhang Tianatian's vent bucket. Let her come back sooner, Zhang Jian said. She can't stand being hurt again by bumping and bleeding. This remark reminded Father Zhang. Father Zhang nodded, always feeling that this was a little sorry for his son, so he gently instructed Zhang Jian a few words, and then went downstairs with his words. Zhang Tiantian has been carefully taken care of by his father Zhang mother Zhang from childhood to childhood, and the impression is that he never had a serious illness. When she saw her brother getting sick every time, her parents were busy before and after, and put all her mind on her brother. She always envied her brother, and hoped that she could get sick like her brother. Now she has such an opportunity to be ill. Since she was hospitalized yesterday, she has been tormenting her father, Zhang mother, and mother. That's really a toss. Jiang's father, Jiang's mother, did not sleep for almost a night and coaxed her. Whenever she asked for something, she was immediately brought to her. This morning, Zhang Tiantian drove away the caregivers who helped her to clean her body. Even Mother Zhang was unwilling to touch her, so she named her to wait for her. After Yanj came, Mother Zhang, who had already been tossed by the tormented heart, finally let out a sigh of relief. She immediately instructed Yanj, "Your sister wants to wipe the body. Those caregivers are too rude. You help the sister to clean the body." After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 721. Even if she saw Yan Ji's eyes swollen, Mother Zhang had no intention to ask. "Maybe I will still pretend, but today Zhang Tiantian is too tired to toss." Mother Zhang has no energy to pretend to be a kind mother in front of Yanj. The song should be heard. Confronting Zhang Tianatian's glorious look, she went to help Zhang Tiantian, and at the same time she said to her father, "Zhang Zhang, parents and mothers, you have been tired all night, or you have to rest. Sweet, I will take care of you here." On. Jiang's father, Jiang's mother, is exactly that. But Zhang Tiantian was afraid that when Zhang's father and Mother Zhang's words were gone, the song would become a vicious face. He immediately shouted, "No, no, I don't want my parents to leave, I don't, you just stay here, you can't go anywhere." Father Jiang's mother was helpless, so she could only doze on the sofa. Yan Ji's hand strength is not light at all. Zhang Tiantian screamed in pain, "Are you so hard to kill me?" The dozing Zhang father Zhang mother was immediately awakened. Mother Zhang waited for Zhang Tiantian overnight, knowing how much she worked as a daughter. She knew in her heart that it was not a matter of speech, but she still said, "Anan, please be gentle." Yanj said softly, "Good mother." Although the movement was light, Kai Shui drank on the bed and splashed on Zhang Tianatian's face. Zhang Tiantian shouted again. Mother Zhang was too lazy to talk this time, and she knew that her daughter called the song to come to toss the song. Zhang Tian wanted to let his parents know how vicious the words were, and screamed and scolded them, and then shouted to Mother Zhang, "Mom, Mom, come and see, you look at her, she is deliberate and wants to go water splashed on me, it's so cold for me, I want to change the sheets, I want to change the sheets." Yanj said patiently, "Sister, don't be angry, let your parents sleep for a while, they are tired, and I will change it for you right away." When changing the sheets, he accidentally bumped Zhang Tianatian's leg that had hit the plasterboard. Zhang Tiantian couldn't bear it anymore, crying in pain, grabbed the pillow and smashed into the song, "You can't wait for me to die, you vicious woman, you will be punished sooner or later." "Sweet, I haven't done this kind of thing, don't be angry, it's your sister's bad, watching you hit your leg doesn't help you hold it down, come, my sister will help you again, don't quarrel, see mom and dad, they are all tired and fall asleep. Let them whisper and let them sleep for a while." The voice of Yanj is soft and gentle. In contrast, Zhang Tiantian is the one who is trying to frame Yanj. Jiang Tiantian was so annoyed by Yan Ji that he could not help tearing Yan Ji's face. "You are not my sister, I don't have such a cheap sister as you." The parents were clearly in front of them, but they did not defend her. Jiang Tiantian was really angry and sad, and continued to curse words, "That's my parents, it's not yours. I don't need your fake kindness." Finally, Father Jiang couldn't help but raised his frown and said to Jiang Tiantian, "Sweet, how can you talk to your sister like this?" Jiang Tiantian interrupted his father's words, "She is not my sister, she is a miscellaneous species that I bought. I don't have a sister. She has a heart and wants to kill me all day long." Father Jiang didn't understand why his daughter had such vicious remarks, and he was shaking with anger. "Nonsense, shut up." At the end, he turned around and said to Yanj, "Anan, I will send you home. It feels like I finally stopped the car and controlled myself." You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 722. Originally thought that the coming of the song could make Jiang Tiantian stop, but did not expect Jiang Tiantian to make more powerful. The key is to say such a thing, and to utter the words in your heart. What is the difference between Jiang Tianatian's behavior and the harm of her own brother? Father Jiang was so annoyed by Jiang Tianatian's remarks that he sent a song back to the villa and slept in the room where he lived. As for the hospital, Jiang Tiantian and Jiang Mu both called him, but he didn't answer. Yanj hasn't eaten since the morning, and is very hungry. When he gets home, he goes to the kitchen to find something to eat. Fortunately, there was leftovers in the refrigerator. She was heating the food, listening to the noise at the door, and turning her head quickly, seeing Zhang Jian leaning on the door. She was relieved. "Why are you silent? Scared I'm dead? I thought it was Aunt Zhang." "How?" "In the past, Aunt Zhang hated what I ate in the kitchen. Every time I found out, I was reprimanded. She is a servant who is not qualified to reprimand you. You will have to say something like this in the future." I told my mother that. Mother said that Aunt Zhang was right. "She's not your mother." "Okay." Yan Ji went out with his meal in his hands, and he quickly gave way. "Tian Tian bullied you again in the hospital." Yanj didn't respond, eating and eating. Not responding, it is the default. Zhang Jian sighed, "I didn't eat anything in the morning, didn't I eat it at noon?" Yan Ji nodded. Zhang Jian opened his mouth, but didn't know what to say. Still, Yan Ji ate halfway up and looked up again and smiled at him. "Brother, will you teach me literacy in a while?" Zhang Jian nodded. Yan ate and went into the room with Zhang Jian again. This time, he went to Zhang Jian's study. Zhang Jian has a mobile phone. This time, he teaches literacy on the phone, and slowly teaches him how to use the phone. But do Auntie talk about letters? Do Auntie even know the numbers? So he can only teach from the most basic. Mother Zhang and Zhang Tiantian couldn't get Jiang's father on the phone, so they had to call Zhang Jian again. At first glance, Zhang Jian didn't mean to answer the call. They all simply entered the blacklist. The phone in the living room rang again and again. After the new maid Auntie Chi answered the phone and said a few words, he ran upstairs and called for Father Zhang, who was sleeping in the room. "Sir, madam, when do you go to the hospital to see the lady?" Father Zhang was sleepy and tired, and was asleep sweetly, and was awoken by Aunt Chi, annoyed with a curse, "Get out." Then he covered his head in the quilt and continued to sleep. He didn't go to the hospital until the evening. He went to the company after eating. The Zhang family's company now has an executive president. Father Zhang only needs to find time to check the company's account. When I went to the company in the evening, the company's people were already off work. Father Zhang wandered around the empty company and went to the bathroom to see two white-faced selves. For the first time, a kind of unspeakable decadence and despair were born. Zhang Tiantian has tasted the benefits of being sick in the past 2 days, almost holding her mother all the time, all kinds of coquettishly asking for things. If you do nt like it, you will have to die and live, and you will even scold the nurse. Afterwards, even if you pay a high price, the mother of Chang will not ask the nurse to take care of Zhang Tiantian. When Jiang's father didn't come to the hospital, Jiang's mother had to deal with Zhang Tiantian alone, but in 4 or 5 days, she was 10 years old and looked really embarrassed. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 723. Mother Zhang tried to make sense to Zhang Tiantian. However, at the beginning, Zhang Tiantian wailed and said that his parents were partial. When his brother was sick, his parents accompanied him all the way, but when she arrived, no one cared. Words. Mother Zhang was exhausted from heart to body. During this time, the cleanest is probably Zhang Jian He Yanj. Zhang Jian is learning about literacy and teaching how to use some functions on his mobile phone. The new aunt she used to work in another villa, and often heard Zhang Tiantian talk about Zhang'an, the bipole, robbing her brother. Now that she finds that Yanj often runs into Zhang Jian's house and stays there all day, she murmurs in her heart. They are not brothers and sisters, and Lao Wo is not allowed to be disturbed. I think there is something wrong. After being hospitalized for 2 weeks, Zhang Tiantian was finally discharged from the hospital and rested at home. Instead of returning to the villa where she lived, she came to Yanj and Zhang Jian to squeeze on the second floor together. Mother Zhang and Father Zhang lived here too. The extremely quiet villa on weekdays suddenly became lively. Zhang Tiantian saw Yanj's heart blocked, and several times tried to toss Yanj to pee her. However, the first time Yanj helped her to receive urine, she spilled all the urine on her. When receiving shit, she even clasped the in her body. Before Zhang Tiantian shouted with anger, the wicked man who resigned could sue, "Sweet, I know you are very upset with me because of the jump, but you can't toss yourself like this if you are upset. Look, it smells so bad on you." No one believes that the song was deliberate. After all, Zhang Tiantian's arrogance are arbitrary, but the song looks like a small bag. And everyone has experienced Zhang Tiantian's bad temper, but she really feels that Zhang Tiantian has made Yan Ji wait for her to be at ease. So once this kind of thing came out, even if Zhang mother would swear remarks, it would be a few words without pain or itch. Zhang Tiantian was furious. But she couldn't do anything about her words. Her favorite brother has been maintaining Yanj. She used to think that because of her injuries, her brother would be better for her, but she thought about it a lot. She has been here for so long, and her brother did not come and visit her without asking if she is still upset or hurt. Ignored by his own brother, Zhang Tiantian was heartbroken. Heartbroken at the same time, she hated her brother's words more and more. Every time I tried to find the stubble of the words, Zhang Tiantian, who had not succeeded, had a high blackening value. The chicken sighed with sadness and sympathy. How can this girl not think about it, and she wants to oppose the wood in our house. This trend of her is really about to see the coffin. Zhu Wei felt that he could use his knowledge at this time. This woman must have a plot of love with her brother, but her favorite brother not only ignored her, but also treated her as a class enemy because of her younger sister. I can't bear it. Chicken, girls are winding around, we rough guys don't understand. This is ironic that Nine-Tailed is too girl, and Nine-Tailed immediately refuted, general girls don't have so much thought, and people like this are actually called Xiao Xiao. Chicken, you are so boring, you have to study even this. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 724. Zhu Wei smiled hesitantly. For a period of time, I was particularly obsessed with Xicjiao and liked domesticating them very much, so I studied more than others, but this little girl, she is only a sick and junior, she is too weak and too small, she also looks it doesn't look good, it's boring. Chicken, it's useless if you want to be interesting, you can't go out, you can't go out, you can't go out. The two guys talked and went back on track. Yanj thinks that Juwei's analysis is quite correct, but he expresses contempt for Juwei, a guy who doesn't let go of sickness and tenderness. She has recently blasted Zhang Tiantian at any time. It was also because Mother Zhang simply moved Yan Ji to live on the ground floor in order to be able to stop. He also ordered Yan Ji not to appear in front of Zhang Tiantian. Yan Ji's daily learning can only pause for a while. Probably Zhang Tiantian was too frustrating. Zhang Jian, who was sleeping next door, had a nervous breakdown and couldn't sleep well. Listening to Zhang Tiantian's noise every day, he was taken to the hospital because of a fever. Zhang Jian's immunity is low. Although his body usually looks the same as a normal person, once he has a minor illness, he can become infected with a little care. Yanj was vaccinated against rabies and her body has probably not been recuperated recently. The doctor checked it once and her body could no longer continue to provide resources for Zhang Jian. When Mother Zhang heard the news, she reached out and slapped her hands, rebuking her for knowing how important her own body is, but still not taking good care of herself. Yan Ji didn't argue, but Zhang Jian lying in bed frowned. I was tossed like sweet all day, how can an be better? Mom, don't quarrel here, I can't listen to the upset, you go home take care of sweetness, I'll take care of it here. The whole day when Zhang mother and Zhang father took Zhang Jian out, Zhang Tiantian had bombarded countless telephones. Mother Zhang was really worried about the emotionally unstable Zhang Tiantian at home, so she had to keep Jiang's father in the hospital, and she went home first. This is a sterile ward. Both Yanj and Zhang's father changed to sterile clothing. As soon as Mother Zhang left, Zhang Jian turned to his father and said, "Is there something wrong in the company recently? Dad, if you have something, just go back to the company. Anan is here. If there is anything, I will let the nurse call you." Father Zhang nodded, and a comparison between the sick son and the daughter revealed which one was more intimate. He was really struggling with Zhang Tiantian's torment lately and was unwilling to even return to that home. After sitting in the ward for a while, he got up and went to the company. As soon as Jiang's father left, Zhang Jian beckoned to his words, "Come here, I'll test if I have forgotten the words you learned some time ago." Yanj obediently went over. Zhang Jian's face was really white. Yan Ji hadn't seen him for a few days. When I saw him today, I felt that he was thinner and paler than before. When Zhang Yan looked up at him, Zhang Jian smiled and asked, "What? Brother, you seem to be thin again." She squeezed her cheeks and said, "Brother has no meat on his face." Zhang Jian wanted to reach out and pinch her cheeks, but her hand stretched out and dropped. "Don't change the subject, sit upright, I will test you." Yan Song nodded. Zhang Jian's spirit was not good, and he slept before long. Yanj stood bored in front of the floor-to-ceiling window and looked at the scenery outside. During this period, the nurses came in and looked at Zhang Jian several times. Zhang Jian was a regular visitor to the hospital. Therefore, these nurses knew the song that existed as a mobile source of Zhang Jian. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 725. When the words were boring, the nurse said, "Anan, you can go to sleep on the sofa." Yan Ji nodded, "Thank you sister, I have to look at my brother." The little man's words are completely pitiful in the eyes of the nurses. The behavior of the father's family is best understood by doctors and nurses. However, they have no choice but to smile a lot when they meet Yanj and help Yanj as much as they can. Yanj was sitting by Zhang Jian's bed, and he was really guarding Zhang Jian very seriously. Zhang Jian woke up a few times and saw Yang next to the bed. He wanted to let Yang rest for a while, but before he opened his mouth, he fell asleep again. Zhang Jian has been staying at the hospital for half a month, and Yan Ji has been guarding him. Every time Mother Zhang came in a hurry to show up, she left, and the phone would ring before she had stood for 3 minutes. As for Father Zhang often came, but he also came to inquire about the situation, and then sat for a while before leaving. He did not return home during this time, and has been living in the company. He has been running for his children for more than 10 years. The more he felt tired, the more illusion of exhaustion and breathlessness. Seeing Zhang Jian Yang was so sensible, at least he could get some comfort. But as soon as he returned home to see the daughter who made the heavens and the earth, he felt very tired. Zhang Jian's condition is getting worse and worse. The doctor suggested surgery as soon as possible, and then dragged on like this, Zhang Jian's body will be exhausted. However, Yang had been bitten. Although the rabies vaccine was given, the surgery is not a trivial matter. If one is not careful, Zhang Jian can be destroyed. According to Yang's current situation, it can be continued at least 1 year later. Provide blood source for Zhang Jian. The son has left surgery, and once the operation is successful, the son can be a normal person. Where would Jiang's father give up this opportunity? As early as after Zhang Tiantian was born, Jiang's father, Zhang mother, and Zhang Tiantian were examined. Zhang Tianation's bone marrow also matched Zhang Jian. Zhang Jian had waited less than a year before they could only hit Zhang Tiantian with the candidate for this operation. Zhang Tiantian doesn't know about it yet. Her legs are almost better, and she is used to being surrounded by her mother. Even if her legs are good, she has no plans to get out of bed, and she will cry from time to time. Mother Zhang took her to the hospital for several inspections. The hospital said that there was no major problem, but Zhang Tiantian always shouted pain. Mother Zhang was worried about it, for fear that Zhang Tiantian had a hidden disease. She took Zhang Tiantian to several large hospitals and confirmed that it was okay. Then she felt relieved. At the same time, Zhang Jian's condition is getting worse. After being comatose again in the rescue room, looking at his home for a short period of time, he weakened into a paper-like son, and his father finally made up his mind to let Zhang Tiantian replace the words. When Zhang Tiantian was pushed to the hospital for another inspection, Zhang Tiantian, who had already taken the inspection as a routine occurrence, and by the way, asked Zhang mother a few sets of skirts she had recently seen online. These skirts are all expensive, but Mother Zhang didn't hesitate and agreed to her in one go. Until the doctor issued the letter of responsibility for the operation and the precautions for the operation to the advanced operating room, Zhang Tiantian seemed to reflect the purpose of this trip to the hospital. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 726. I learned that she was going to provide Zhang Jian with bone marrow instead of Yang. Zhang Tianation's face was all white, and she cried with her mother's arm. Will he become a disabled person for life? Why can't you let me replace Zhang'an? Do you really want me? Is it the one I bought? Mom, how can you and Dad do this? I don't do it, I don't want to become disabled. Mother Zhang was soothing her, you are different from Anan. Anan's health has been bad since she was a child. That's why this happens, but your body is always good. Even if you have this surgery, it's not going to be to you. If it hurts, just keep it for a while. That's what you usually tell Zhang'an. I don't believe it, I don't believe it. I'm not Zhang'an. The fool would believe such words, Zhang Tiantian shouted, trying to get out of bed. Mother Zhang. Go and press her, but she pushed Zhang mother to the ground as soon as she pushed. You are all scammers, you scammers, talking about me as your lifeblood, but at a critical moment, you will still turn me into a disability for your brother, saying that I am different from Zhang'an. in your eyes here, she and I are the same tools. But I'm not Zhang An's fool who obeys you, let alone do such things. Mother Zhang was pushed to the ground, hitting her head on the corner of the bedside cabinet, and the hot water bottle on the cabinet smashed down, just hitting her head. She screamed in pain, but still tried to get up to pull Zhang Tian. Sweet, sweet, if you don't believe your mother, you can ask the doctor has confirmed that you won't have anything. Sweet, don't do that, Mom begged you. The nurses in the room all helped Mother Zhang, and Father Zhang stepped in at this time, slap on Zhang Tian's face. This was very powerful. With such a slap, the person fell to the ground. Zhang Tian's face became swollen and red immediately. After the stiffness in her face, it was the pain of piercing the bones. She reached out and covered her face, crying loudly, I hate you, you simply it's not my biological parents, how can I have parents like you, I don't want to live with you anymore, I am going to find my biological parents. She got up and rushed out, and was pushed to the ground by Father Zhang. Mother Jiang's head was scalded by boiling water, and the nurses scrambled to help her go to see the doctor. In the room, there was only the Father Zhang and the song that was standing at the door and was always acting as the background board. The chicken was very emotional, this family, why have you reached such a situation, the last life of the mighty one seems to have lived a little longer than it is now. Why can't I survive this year, oh. It felt that this wood was a bit poisonous, and as soon as it entered the plane, it shattered the family's roar. In fact, Yanj didn't understand how this time went so smoothly. She hasn't done any big moves yet, and the family has already started to attack each other internally. It is estimated that the hidden dangers of the family have been suppressed for too long. Once a small opening is opened, all the hidden dangers will be revealed. Of course, in Yanj's view, Zhang Tian is the biggest killer. The killing power of this little girl is really amazing. I raised you so much, that's how you think about us. Zhang father was extremely disappointed with Zhang Tian.